Welcome back to Vinny's Aquatics. All right, you saw I found a praying mantis outside the other day. So what I want to do today is I'm going to build an enclosure for him. I'm going to take this piece of plexiglass right here, and I'm going to take this glue. I got my trusty tape measure. I'm about to cut up some pieces and show you the enclosure. Please do me a favor. Double check to make sure you're still subscribed. I don't know what's been happening. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Okay, so this is how you make a DIY terrarium. Now stop. I know what you guys are going to say. Vinny, we don't have a table saw. Totally understandable. Most people don't. What you're going to want to do is just either a sign guy in town, a glass guy, a Home Depot, one of these places. Just have them pre-cut the plastic for you. And you don't have to do all this. It's the easiest way to do it. Just have it cut, have them sand it, and all you have to do is put it together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start out. First thing I want to do is make measurements. Now, usually I'll draw this out on a piece of paper, but I have this all in my head. I would suggest if you're doing this, you make a nice little schematic first so you know what you're doing and you don't cut the same piece twice because you're not going to want to waste the plastic. I'm using 1/4 inch plexiglass here. It's totally clear. I think that'll be fine. This is a DIY project, so I've made all my marks. Now I'm going to start cutting the pieces for the sides and the bottom. I'll do this to make sure they're all the same. Now, I got a friend of mine, and he's not really good at DIY, but he did manage to attach one piece of wood to another piece. So I looked at him and I said, "You nailed it." Yep. So, all right, I'm cutting the pieces now. Now, what I suggest is, if you are going to cut this on your table saw, don't use your wood blade. Go to a place like Home Depot has them. Get a nice multi-tooth plexiglass blade. You're going to want to make these edges as clean as possible. What I'm doing now is what us old school guys, we call it, I'm truing it up. I'm lining both pieces up together, and I'm going to run them through the saw together so I make sure they're exactly the same. I mean, I could get away with a little variance at the top, but I don't like the way that looks. I like it to look professional. So I'm going to true it up. Just run it through on your saw. Now, if you order these pieces, they're going to come in true because they're going to do that for you. So that's another step you're going to save. So it might be worth it just to order pre-cut pieces of plexi and just glue them together. I'm going to do this for every piece. I want to make sure they're perfectly square and I have nice clean edges to glue. It takes a little longer, but it comes out much better. Even if you're doing woodworking projects or anything like that, if you're cutting multiple pieces like shelves or anything that has to be the exact same size, always true up your work, you know? All right, don't cut your fingers off, Vinny. What are you doing? Seriously, I seen that happen to somebody on a job site where he got his finger caught in a table saw. You got to be careful. Wear your eye protection, wear your ear protection, and don't put your fingers near the blade. All right, come on, don't do that. All right, making progress here. Look how I'm concentrating. All right, I'm impressed. All right, all my pieces are cut. Look, nice and clean. There's nothing worse than this plastic. It sticks all over you. It sticks all, it gets in your hair. It's just everywhere, and it stinks. And technically, if I was smart, I'd be wearing a mask. So now, what I suggest is taking a nice 220 grit, nice sandpaper, not that crap, and just sanding the edges nice. Now, if this was going to be bigger and this was going to hold water, I would probably wet sand them so I have a nice clean edge, but it's a terrarium, and you get the point. Okay, I'm adding my ballast, and now this is the glue I use. This is Caseway acrylic adhesive, SC125. I get this through my years in my industry. This is a fast setting one. You can also get a slow set. There's a slow set that comes out a lot thicker, and I found that works pretty good on big tanks because I mean, a 6 foot long tank. You're not gonna be able to glue it fast enough. So the slow set seems to work really good for that, and then you go back and reinforce it with the fast set. Now, if you notice, as I set up the back, this is gonna be the front. I always do the front first. That way, if there's any imperfections, I can hide them in the back. Now, if you notice, the paper's coming off this plastic really easy. There's a reason for that. I don't let my plastic get exposed to UV or sunlight. You guys, whoever tried this and you can't get the paper off the back of the plastic, it's just stuck there. That's because it was exposed to sunlight. It's not good for the plastic. It causes problems over time with the texture and it dries it out. So just pay attention to that. Try to store your plastic in the shade or, in a dark room. Now I have my little trusty L square there. I've already glued the front on, but this glue sets really fast. You just want to make sure you don't have a lot of working time, so you line up all your edges perfectly. So I peel this, make sure you get some of that dust off, but it's very staticky right now. So I'll get the other side on. I just glue down. And there we go. Put the square on it. Now it's time for the other side. Here's another DIY trick. Take your hand sanitizer. If you mix a little bit of Tabasco sauce in your hand sanitizer, it not only kills germs, but it also teaches people not to touch their eyes and their face. And boy, you're going to have a lot of fun when you see their reaction. So now I glue the third side on, making progress. It's about, 20 minutes in so far. Not bad. Now you definitely want to, see what I'm doing? I'm double checking to make sure all the seams line up. Now you can use blue tape for that. That's a great solution. It's just, I've been doing this so long, this is pretty second nature to me. So I'm gonna go up the seam after I do the bottom, apply a little pressure till the glue starts to set. Now this glue is not a surface glue like 5-minute epoxy. This actually bonds the plexi. It's chemical and it melts the plexi to basically almost make it one piece. There we go. You see it's all chewed up. Now, I'm going to put the back piece on, the final piece of the box. And like I said, I do this last because if there's any imperfections, I want them to be in the back. And also, if you really want to make it look nice, you can get a little laminate trimmer. You get the same laminate trimmer, and you put a nice little trimming bit in there, and you can zip this plastic down really nice. Then you just hit it very lightly with a little bit of a torch, and you can make it look like glass. Now I got to reach in. It's good, Vinny. Nice way to set up the camera. He's stupid. People are watching you right now. You turn around. There we go. That's a little better. So I'm gluing it. Now the box is done. Now I have to work on the top. Now, of course, being a terrarium, I'm gonna have to drill holes in this to get air. But I want it to overlap a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. I'm gonna mark it, and I'm gonna take little strips, the little strips that came off when I trued up the pieces. I'm gonna take those. I'm gonna nip them down, and I'm gonna glue them across the front and the back of the top. That way the top slides on, it comes off easy, but it's not gonna fall off and allow this thing to escape. Now I zip up the other piece. Now remember, I'm gonna be feeding this thing crickets, and the last thing I want is crickets getting out. Remember, it's in my bedroom, and I had this happen to me last year. I had a cricket get out, and it drove me crazy. It just absolutely, every night. There we go. There's the finished product, kinda. I let the top dry so it doesn't stick. Check it out. Beautiful fit. There we go. What are we gonna do next? We're gonna take this, I'm gonna mark it. This is the top where I can, you can just drill the holes anywhere you want, but I kind of just want to make a couple straight lines. I'm gonna put 3 rows of drill holes in here for air. I'm gonna make them big enough for the air to circulate, but I definitely don't want to make them too big so the crickets get out or any other bugs that I feed them. Because, like I said, no one wants that. There we go. See the holes? Pop it on, make sure it fits. Now, let's peel the back off. Now, I was going to go with this light green vinyl. Did you see there? But it had a bunch of scratches and holes in it, so that's really not going to work for me. So I'm going to wet it. Now, this is how I do it. I put it down like this so I can peel the backer off nice and easy. I don't have to struggle with it because the water I just sprayed keeps it vacuumed down, basically. This is a forest green vinyl. I'm going to wet it up. Flip it over. Wet the back. Now I take my trusty squeegee and get all the bubbles out. That's the most important thing you want to do now is get all the bubbles out, because the last thing you want to do is put a vinyl back on and then you go look at it and there's a big stupid bubble right in the middle of it. It's gonna ruin your day. So double check, make sure you get the bubbles out. Worst comes to worst, take a little pin, poke a hole in it and get that bubble out. You can use a little heat too, there's nothing wrong with that. And there we go. Background's basically done. Let's peel this off. Get a good look at it. Now we're gonna peel the front. Look at that. I think that green's gonna do well. Oh yeah! Now I'm gonna wanna blow this out. I have my air compressor. I mean, you could just take a damn paper towel and just like you do a fish tank, just like you do any of your tanks, just clean it out, maybe a little bit of vinegar. You want to get all the release liner and everything off the plexiglass. You don't want to just peel it and leave it. And believe it or not, plexiglass, as soon as you peel the backer off, it takes about 24 hours for it to outgas. There's still a chemical process in there, so try to do that before you put anything in it. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these LEDs, and this is just a little container for screws I had in my shop. And I'm going to put the LEDs in. These are 6500K LEDs. And I'm just going to mix up a little 5-minute epoxy here. You can use silicone, you can use hot glue, you can use anything you want. I just don't trust the tape because of the humidity. So I'm going to glue these in. I'm going to let it sit for a little while. Let the epoxy harden. So I dip it all around. The epoxy smells too, by the way. Now I'm doing this instead of going out and buying a light. Anytime I can make something myself and I don't have to go out and buy it, I'm going to do it. Hopefully it works well. I don't want this to be too bright. You know, it's a praying mantis. It's not a rave. There we go. The 5-minute epoxy. Always have some of that around. It's all done. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more 5-minute epoxy. And why don't they make 4-minute epoxy? And I'm just going to glue it on the top. Making sure not to cover any of the holes, of course. Position it right in the middle, towards the back. There we go. Now I just got to let that sit for 5 minutes. There's my beer. There it is. Here we go. After I decorated it, I put a little eco earth, and then I went outside and I just grabbed whatever I saw and I put it in there. There he is, right there. You can see him. He's actually eating a cricket right now. He loves crickets.
Do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button and smash the notification bell. Thank you.
I got 2 quick announcements to make. This Wednesday night, 10:30, I'm going to be on Royal Fish Aquatics live stream. I'm looking forward to that. And this Friday at 5 o'clock, Jack and Dan are going to join me on my second live stream right before OFR. So we're going to kick it off right. I hope to see you all there. So let's wrap this up with a nice little bow on top. Today I showed you how I made a terrarium for a praying mantis. You can make it for any kind of other animal. You got to do a little different if you want to make an aquarium. But I think you saw how it was done. I hope you had a good time. Maybe you laughed. Maybe you learned something. And I'll see you next time on Vinny's Aquatics.